I've just got a message saying that some people can't hear me, so we'll just work on addressing that now. Bear with us 1 second. Perfect, everyone can hear me now, so we're good to go. So my name is Emily, and hopefully, as most of you know, I am the lead organiser of the Plymouth Startup Weekend events. And joining me this evening, we also have 2 fantastic speakers, a couple of previous Startup Weekend attendees, and our amazing facilitator, Maria and Stavros. So I'd just like to start by welcoming them all. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us this evening. We have Tanuvi from Data Duopoly, who is going to tell us all about their mission to revolutionise the visitor experience in any venue worldwide. Hello, Tanuvi. And we've also, of course, got Ollie from the National Marine Aquarium and Oceans Conservation Trust, who's going to be talking all about the aquarium's experience over the past year, and why now is really the time to sort of innovate and support venues as they reopen. Hi, Ollie.
Hello, everyone. Hi there.
And we will then have an opportunity to answer any questions with our amazing facilitator, Maria, and Stavros as well, who are joining us from Greece. And we've got George and Jay, who attended our last event. So hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. So this evening, we are going to start with a quick introduction to the Startup Weekend events here in Plymouth, and in particular, why we've chosen the culture and tourism theme, and how the virtual event is going to work. We are then going to head over to our speakers for this evening. So, Plymouth Startup Weekend, what is it? These events are part of a series of Techstars Startup Weekends that we are running in Plymouth as part of the Mayflower project. And we've run 3 events so far in Plymouth. This will be our 4th one, and it's also our 2nd virtual edition. So obviously it's got a different format to the in-person events, but is just as good. And actually, I've just remembered that George, who attended our last event, has also attended one of our in-person events. So I might ask him about that later in the Q&A. Anyway, simply put, it's a 54-hour event designed to inspire budding entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, or anyone who is interested in developing an idea, learning new skills and meeting new people, and so much more than that. And this time we've asked people to focus on thinking about ideas related to culture and tourism. So why culture and tourism, and what do I mean by that? As you might have seen on our event page and on our social media channels, last year Condé Nast Traveller magazine picked Britain's Ocean City as one of the top 10 places to travel in 2020. And we all know culture and tourism are huge sectors in the Southwest. There's so many places to visit and so much going on. And this year we're going to have a whole load of new staycationers who will also be visiting us. But it's no secret that last year was obviously a really tough year for everyone, but particularly a really tough year for the culture and tourism industry and our venues. So now is really the time to take your ideas for a new product, a service, or an experience related to these industries to the next level. And what do we mean by this theme? So culture and tourism, it's really broad, anything. So have you got an idea to transform tourism in the Southwest or globally? Or maybe a series of VR experiences to bring culture to a wider audience. Perhaps an educational tool to support the learning of history or offer new ways of engaging with culture. And you might think now is not a good time to start a business, right? But actually, now is paradoxically a really good time to start a business. At our last pre-event in November, Diane from Enterprise Nation reminded us that in the last economic downturn, we saw some of the biggest startups launching. So Airbnb, MailChimp, and Uber, they all launched in the last economic downturn. And you could be next with your idea. It's also worth saying that last year Plymouth was also recognised as one of the top 10 cities in the UK to start a business. And of course, I'm biased, and so will many people on this call be, but I couldn't agree more. We are incredibly lucky to be in a part of the Southwest thriving with innovation and enterprise. So, how does it work? And what happens at these events? I'm just going to really quickly run through the weekend and some key points, but the full schedule and everything is on the event page. And please reach out with any questions which we can answer in the Q&A. So here is the timeline. And on the Friday evening, everyone has the opportunity to pitch an idea. Now, you don't have to pitch an idea. You can just come along and join a team and work with them over the course of the weekend. But if you've got an idea related to culture and tourism, we really encourage you to give it a go. And I've even jumped up there before and given it a go at some of our previous events. You also may have seen a slightly embarrassing video of me talking about a crazy pasty vending machine idea for the culture and tourism themed event. But anyway, remember, for this online version, we're asking people to submit their idea by the Thursday evening, Thursday the 22nd of April. And this will help us to organise and manage the pitching process on the Friday. So on the Friday, to summarise, we pitch, we form teams, and we get to work. But before all that happens, we're going to have Rob Love from Crowdfunder joining us to talk about big ideas. And he will be doing a live interview with the amazing Jess Ratty at Halo. Now, not only am I looking forward to hearing both of these two talk about launching a business and big ideas, but also Rob and Jess are both hugely passionate about the Southwest. So it's great to have both of them as part of this event. So the pitching process on the Friday. It's a 1-minute elevator pitch, and our pitchers need to focus on talking about the problem they are trying to solve, how they think they're going to solve it, what idea they have, what skills they might need in their team, and why it's such a great idea, so why people should join a team and work with them on it. And what will happen is attendees will virtually line up to pitch their idea. We are then going to vote on the best ideas and form teams around those ideas. As I mentioned, people that pitched will identify the skills they need in their team, and everyone will virtually network and form teams. And the organising team and the facilitators will help to support this. So helping people make sure they've got the right skill set in their team and that they've got enough people to work on the idea over the course of the weekend. Of course, usually at this point on the Friday evening, we'd get all the teams set up in the venue, we'd enjoy some nice food, and we'd get to know everyone. This time, of course, it's virtual, but that's still going to happen as much as possible. So each team will be paired with a member of the organising team to guide them through the weekend. They'll also have their own virtual team space set up to use throughout the weekend. Then on Saturday, we really get to work. We welcome our mentors, we have some workshops and some inspirational speakers, and we focus on developing our customer validation and our business model canvas. Then Sunday, back to it with more support from mentors and workshops. And on Sunday, really focusing on developing our pitches ready for the judges. Now, usually on the Sunday, we practice our pitches and we go straight into pitching to the judges. But for the online event, we will be asking teams to submit their ideas, to submit a recording of their pitches in the afternoon. And this is so that if anything goes wrong technically during the live pitches, then we have all of the pitches to hand to share with the judges. So we've worked really hard on the Sunday and over the course of the weekend, and perhaps there are some nerves ahead of the final pitches, myself included. So we're going to have some more inspirational speakers to pick up the energy, and we're even going to have some street dance with Toby from Street Dance Factory. Then we do the final pitches. We pitch to the panel of judges. The teams will have a limited time to pitch and receive feedback from the judges. And then the judges will go away and agree on a winning team and runner-up. So, the judging criteria. I'm just going to really quickly run through the judging criteria, but we will remind everyone about it in the lead up to the event and, of course, during the event itself. So the judges are going to be judging the teams on 3 main areas. Validation. So did the team talk to customers? Are they actually solving a problem? Have they identified a specific target market? Execution and design. Do they have an MVP, so a minimum viable product, or a prototype? How functional is the technical demo? Is the product easy to use? And business model. How do they plan on making it a successful business? Are they solving a problem? So what is the value proposition? And is the idea unique? So before I go ahead and introduce our speakers, I'm lastly going to talk about why these events are so awesome. So firstly, because of the people. We have so many amazing people involved, like Gavin here, who some of you might recognise from Digital Plymouth. And if you haven't attended a Digital Plymouth meetup, then I highly recommend you check it out and attend one in the near future. So they're all here, all of the mentors, all of the speakers, all of the organising team, all of the attendees are here to support and guide you and help you through the weekend. Another reason it's so awesome is the experience. So I can't say this enough. It's a real pleasure to organise these events and run these events, and they are completely unique. These events are a safe space to share and build ideas and connect with a community of entrepreneurs and a support network in Plymouth and beyond. And please feel free to ask George and Jay any questions about their experience at our events in the Q&A. And lastly, these events are really awesome because of the network. So the network and the community, as I've already mentioned, not only locally, but also these events tap us into a global Techstars community full of entrepreneurs and amazing people. So Maria and Stavros, our facilitators who are joining us this evening, are actually joining us all the way from Greece. So that's it from me, and I'm going to hand over to Tanuvi in a second to tell us all about data duopoly. If you've got any questions, drop them in the chat and we will pick them up after Ollie's talk. So I'm going to hand over to Tanuvi now.
Oh, hi. Well, that's absolutely wonderful, Emily. And what a fantastic event and really exciting weekend ahead. I'm so thrilled to be part of the event. So today I'm going to talk about data duopoly. And we at Data Duopoly are on a mission to revolutionize the visitor experience in any venue worldwide. And it's something that I was actually born about pre-COVID. So before I start, I thought it'd be good to share a little bit about why I wanted to start Data Duopoly. The first thing is, why did I want to become an entrepreneur? I wanted to create something innovative. I wanted to solve a problem and I wanted to take a chance. And honestly, it's been the most exciting journey I've ever taken part of, and I haven't regretted it since. That's what I say so far. So we started with the problem and we thought, how can we do it better? So the stunning fact is that the average person spends 6 months of their lifetime queuing, which is absolutely phenomenal. And what's more, the average London tourist spends 5 hours queuing at visitor attractions alone. So we dug a little deeper and found that almost 20% of TripAdvisor reviews relates to queues, crowds, or busyness. So this was a wide-scale problem across industries. So Data Duopoly set out to solve this problem. And what's more important is that it actually stemmed from the fact that both myself and my co-founder Erin Morris hated queuing. We were so frustrated with it and thought there's got to be a better way to link up digital and the physical experience to create a much more seamless experience. So this is where Explore was born. And Explore Eden is shown here. It's a pilot that we undertook with the Eden Project back in July 2019. And what we came up with a white label solution, really to create a win-win situation for both the visitors and the venue. So on the right-hand screen, you can see our mobile application, available on iOS and Android, which is free for the visitors to download. It provides an interactive way to navigate around a venue. And what's really exciting, it actually tells people where the busy areas are, so they can make informed decisions where they want to go next. And with COVID, that's more important than ever as venues reopen and want to provide confidence to their visitors. So for the venues, a key pain point we kept hearing about was the lack of data. And that was a key problem. So how do venues understand how people are using their venue space? So we created a live heat map showing people's live location at 5-minute intervals, really providing anonymous data feedback back to the venue. And what was really important that it's anonymized. We didn't want to be Big Brother, and we certainly didn't want to be like our competitors, like CCTV cameras, who are using face tracking technology. We just track the phone ID to see where people are on site and give value back to the venue, back to the visitor. So we really wanted to democratize the information sharing process. So visitors would also get incentives to nudge them to visit less busy areas. So again, trying not to tell everyone what to do, but just nudge them in the right direction. So what does our solution look like? It really is a win-win situation for both visitors and venues. It's incentive driven. So we facilitate the sending of personalized discounts and incentives to help increase the concessionary spend on site. So for example, if we know an area of a zoo, for example, is really busy because it's the penguin talk at 3 p.m., we could select a small visitor cluster rushing towards the penguin talk and say, actually, there's another one at 5 p.m. And if you go to the cafe now, which is quite quiet, you get a half-price coffee. That improves the visitor experience for everyone on site, alleviating the queues, and also help increasing concessionary spending on site. So we're using location data. We're using GPS technology inbuilt within phones and tracking them in an anonymous way. And that's really important. And ultimately, we're benefiting and enhancing the experience for the visitor and optimizing the visitor flow on site. So what were the outcomes when we did our pilot with the Eden Project? Well, it was fantastic to see that 95% of our surveyed users would use the app at their next day out if it was offered at a visitor attraction. And 33% of surveyed users responded to monetary offers. That meant we had the power to shift at least a third of the visitor population on site, which is a huge potential and impact, especially in times of COVID, to really help manage the queues and the visitor population on site. So what are we doing now? We are absolutely thrilled to announce that we are working with the National Trust Cornish Tin Coast Partnership, and we're working with them to link 3 key World Heritage mining sites, Giba, Botalic, and Levant mines. And the key thing here is not a focus just on tourism management, but destination management. We want as many local businesses as possible to benefit from tourism in the area. So by providing individual access to dashboard points, other venues such as a local pub can see if you're doing a Southwest Coastal Park walk, actually why didn't I send visitors if it's an empty pub? a half-price beer if they buy fish and chips. And that's really exciting. And the great thing is embracing digital technology with these fantastic heritage sites really to bring it to life. We can also provide gamified trails, and I think that's solving a real problem, especially for families. So many times people will be on their phone, especially sometimes children, but isn't it much better to be on their phone and engaging with the content around them, really to enhance the educational capabilities as well? So we really thought, how can we improve the visitor experience across any venue? So our pipeline is currently focusing on scalable low-cost pilots. So to show you what we mean, we've done a mock-up of Thorpe Park, for example. So our technology is all completely white label, so it can be copied across to different venues, and we can just skin it in the branding that's needed, which is really exciting, so we can help as many venues as possible in the post-lockdown world. And our first paying client is the National Cornish Tin Ghost Partnership, which is absolutely fantastic to work with a southwest-based location and really help the local area that we're from as well. And we absolutely love that. And also, we would love to work and plan to roll out across further National Trust properties, really to link up the sites together and provide a much more engaging experience. But what are we doing in light of COVID? So we already track where people are on site, or should I say anonymously phones. But how could we take that to the next level? We were constantly speaking to visitors and trying to understand the pain points and sort of concerns they have when returning to venues. And actually, it's the fear of not knowing if it's going to be really busy in an area. So we're effectively a Waze-like platform, which is the car navigation app, but for venues. So we can tell people, actually, this area is really busy right now. So if you don't feel comfortable, we can suggest somewhere that's slightly quieter, using a traffic light system with our new crowd tracker feature. We've also got a COVID alert system. So this actually is separate to the NHS track and trace, but it's designed for the venue. So if anyone visited a venue and maybe 2 or 3 days later realized they might have symptoms or tested positive for COVID, they can just click a button within the app to contact the venue and alert them of the situation. They can leave their contact details if they want to provide further information. But what the venue can do, which is really exciting, is track that unique ID code and see the exact user journey on the site. So that means they have the decision. They can enhance their cleaning regime in that specific area. If it's necessary, they contact everyone who visits those exhibits at the same timestamps within the app, or they can actually contact everyone on that site that day. And that provides the venue a lot more reassurance that they're doing everything they can to make sure their venue is COVID secure. And that's really what we want to do as a startup. We haven't got the big capacities and maybe the big corporations, but we're using our innovative technology to help the sector recover post-pandemic and give visitors the day out they so desperately deserve after such a long period in lockdown. But what else? So not only were we using our technology for visitor attractions, but we thought, actually, as ex-students, we thought there's got to be a better way to help our fellow students. So let's welcome Explore Campus. This is the latest in our product range offering. And we're currently working with Falmouth University to help bring students and staff safely back to campus, which is absolutely fantastic. So using our existing technology, we hope to tell people where areas are busy, provide incentives and nudges to send them to the least busy areas. So for example, if the library is really busy, we can say the Daphne du Maurier is actually quite quiet right now for quiet study. Or equally, if the Stannery Bar is really packed, why don't you go to Koofy and get your coffee or beer there? So again, we're giving the power back to students so they can make their own informed decisions. And for the university, they have a much better visibility of how students utilize their space, which could be really beneficial for estate management as well. So we're really excited to be using our technology in this new innovative way and applying it to different sectors. And we hope to work with as many universities as possible. And our pilot's currently undergoing in summer this year. And we hope to roll out across other universities in September 2021, in line with the new academic term. So I thought it'd be great to share a little bit about Data Duopoly's journey. So we actually started in Falmouth University's own Launchpad program. And we started with the pilot with the Eden project, which was fantastic base. And then what happened since there? it began. My co-founder and I received our first bit of funding from the Southwest Creative Technology Network, and that's where it all really kicked off. So we started building out our AI algorithms. So we started with an MVP, but as two non-technical co-founders, it was quite a challenge bringing a tech product. But dare I say, it was actually an advantage because we saw things from the user perspective and thought, what's the best way to do it? Not necessarily the most technically feasible way to do it. That's how we started. And then we started building out our AI algorithms so we can actually predict where the next busy area is, which is really valuable to venues. So just before the lockdown hit, we actually went in February 2020 to London, to the Travel Technology Europe trade show, and had a stand there. And we were able to talk to lots of venues and lots of visitor attractions to really understand their pain points and really tweak our product to make sure we were hitting them correctly. We were also fantastic to see that Goonhilly Earth Station, where we get our GPS data from, is right here in Cornwall in the southwest. So it's fantastic to be located in the southwest for this reason. And then COVID struck. And like many businesses and many small businesses, that meant a quick adaptation of the way we worked. We had to say goodbye to our studio and we had to embrace home working. And we had a lot of four-legged team members join our Zoom calls every morning. We also had to adapt the way we tested. We couldn't visit our visitor attractions anymore. So we actually used our hometown in Cornwall to try and map out and do our GPS testing. And I think that's a really great way to show the resilience of startups and actually the adaptability needed to keep testing and growing your product, even when it might not seem feasible. And what we really learned was actually you can try and test things anywhere using computer-generated code, walking up and down and creating test environments. And that was a great learning curve for us going forward. And then we thought, what does the future hold? So we were fantastic to be involved with Tech Girls, which was headed up by the director at Bluefruit Software, and it was fantastic to be featured. And that's something that we're really passionate about here at Data Duopoly, to promote female entrepreneurs and females in tech. We also got our first client with the National Trust. And I think what was really exciting for us was that in light of COVID, when everything was so up in the air and everything was so uncertain, to actually secure our first client. And what was really exciting to see was that people were actually looking at their digital strategy and evaluating it. Suddenly, a digital tool wasn't just an add-on or an accessory. It was a necessity to understand where people are and help them make informed decisions and actually nudge them away from the busy areas. We also pivoted, helping universities during this time. And again, as a startup, we wanted to do our bit to help venues in the tourism, hospitality, and university sectors recover in the post-pandemic world and give people their day-out experience they so desperately deserve. So who are we working with now? The list certainly has grown a lot, which is absolutely thrilled to say. So we actually have got funding from the European Space Agency for Match Fund Project. And we also were listed as a Playmaker of the Year Awards finalist by Booking.com. And it was fantastic to see us as a small startup being recognized by an industry player. We also reached the finals of the Pitch, which is one of the largest pitching competitions in the UK. And we received funding from the Southwest Creative Technology Network and Aerospace Cornwall. Again, showing the great organizations available here in the Southwest to back innovative new technology. So I thought it'd be great to end on a quote by Brian Chesky, the CEO and co-founder of Airbnb. Travel in this new world will look different. And people want options that are closer to home, safer, and more affordable. We at Data Duopoly want to spearhead this and make sure people feel confident returning to venues. So thank you for listening, and I would invite any questions. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or Twitter or email at info@dataduopoly.com. But otherwise, I really hope you enjoy the Techstars Startup Weekend. It sounds like a wonderful opportunity.
Thanks, Tanuvi. That was really, really brilliant. And actually, you've just addressed so much in that presentation about the idea that you've obviously been working on, which is so timely. but also lots of themes that our attendees or our potential attendees will be thinking about over this event. So customer validation, pivoting their idea and having to continually pivot their idea, and all those themes. And it's also really great to see you working with so many venues across the Southwest, which is hopefully what this event will encourage our attendees to do as well. Before we move on to Ollie, I do have a quick question. So obviously, I mentioned earlier that one thing our attendees are going to be thinking about on the Saturday is their customer validation. And you mentioned this a little bit, and the way that you've been doing this over the past year, but also since COVID struck. And I just wondered if you had any top tips for our attendees, because obviously they're probably going to be mostly doing this virtually and attempting to reach out to customers. But yeah, any top tips?
Certainly, I think to speak to as many people as possible and actually not be afraid to show people when things aren't perfect. I'm inherently a perfectionist and thought, oh, I don't want to show anyone until it's perfect. But actually embracing sort of an agile methodology where you just say, it doesn't look great, but would you like it? Does it work? And it's very easy to say no or yes then before you spend about 3 weeks worth of development time and you realize you're not actually solving the problem your customers want. When you actually show up a mock-up and actually using, there's so many things like Marvel, which you don't need to code, but you can develop a prototype app, show your customers, and they think it works. And it's great to see how they interact with it. I think one of the funniest examples we had was that actually people always naturally swipe up for the menu bar, and we had it at the top originally. And it was little learnings like that that really helped iterate and improve our product.
Great, thank you. And also, it's really interesting to hear that both of you you class yourself as non-technical co-founders. So quite often the question we get asked is, do I have to be a tech entrepreneur to attend this event? Or I've got this idea, but I'm not technical, so how do I develop it? And the answer is, you've got the idea, you know what you want to develop, you can still do it and potentially meet someone who can come on board and help support you do that. Also loved the four-legged friend. At our last event, George brought his friend Luna along as well, who inspired his idea. But yeah, thank you so much, Tanuvi. And as Tanuvi mentioned, if you've got any questions, then please do reach out to her. You can also drop them in the chat and we'll sort of pick them up at the end if we get time. So now we're going to introduce our next speaker. Ollie, as I mentioned, is from the National Marine Aquarium and Oceans Conservation Trust and is going to be talking all about, obviously, the aquarium and the past year, Ollie, but also about why the aquarium and venues like that are interested in people innovating like Tanuvi has done and developing ideas. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to you, Ollie.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, really interesting talk actually, and I probably need to catch up afterwards because it sounds like something the aquarium could definitely use. My name's Ollie Reid. I am the Marketing and Comms Manager at the National Marine Aquarium and the Ocean Conservation Trust, who is the overarching charity that runs the aquarium. So yeah, happy to be here today. I'm glad that this clicker thing works. That's good. In terms of my background, past 10 years, I've worked on brand content and marketing for brands. I actually started my own company actually when I left university with two other co-founders. We started a video production company, which is still running, but I left the company a few years ago to work in-house with some places or attractions and things like that. And now I work at the aquarium in Plymouth. So those of you that don't know, the National Marine Aquarium here in Plymouth is the UK's largest aquarium, and it is run by the Ocean Conservation Trust, which is a charity that specialises in connecting people with the ocean. It's very ocean optimistic and positive focused. So that hence the aquarium and the experience that people have when they come to the aquarium is all about connecting with the environment. But obviously, connecting with the animals when you come to the aquarium is a physical experience. So what I wanted to do today is talk a little bit about the past year. Obviously, how we've adapted and changed, and how, as a charity that focuses on physical connections with nature, how that's changed in the past year. With obviously everyone locked inside and not being able to go out and experience nature firsthand. So I'm going to talk a bit about the past, a little about where we are now, and then hopefully about the future when we get to reopen. So we're going to go back in time now to 2018. Those of you that don't remember, it was one of the loveliest, hottest summers on record. And it was a beautiful year if you like to get a tan, but in terms of if you're an indoor tourist attraction, it was not so good. Those of you that know Plymouth, there's a footbridge that connects us to the historic barbecue quarter, which is a big tourist draw, and that bridge was broken for 3 years, and we didn't have an end date in sight for when that would be fixed, so that really impacted our numbers. And we basically were in a not really good place for a tourist attraction. But the year after, 2019, the bridge was open. See the sign there at the top, which we put outside. We had record-breaking rainfall, which meant that when people were looking for something to do in Plymouth or in the southwest when it rained, and they'd already been to the Eden Project, they could come to the aquarium and have a great day out there. And with a few fish puns, we managed to actually increase our visitor numbers by 15% from 2018 to 2019. And then 2020, we actually had the best Feb half term we've ever had. So things were looking up, and nothing could possibly go wrong. And then COVID happened, or it's still happening, but it came about, which meant that we had to shut the aquarium. And for the Ocean Conservation Trust, the charity that runs projects all around the world, the aquarium is the biggest kind of income generator for that charity. So it meant projects had to stop. And it meant that financially, obviously, if you shut different businesses, and I know lots of people have struggled in this last year, but in terms of the aquarium, we could shut our doors, but the animals had to be looked after, to be fed. We still had to have staff on site, maintaining the plant room, the pumps. So there was lots of costs that we couldn't cover by certain grants and furlough schemes and things. So we had to think on our feet, what could we do? So we sat down internally and we came up with some aims. Once the door was closed and we couldn't sell tickets, we had to repurpose basically our social media channels, because before we used them really just to promote visiting the aquarium with a bit of animal focus and things like that. So we had to kind of change the way we use our digital platforms. We wanted to encourage donations, again, as a charity. It costs £10,000 a day to run the aquarium. So without those ticket sales, that was hugely impacted. And we wanted to build our audience, both for the Ocean Conservation Trust, but for the National Marine Aquarium during lockdown, and see if we could grow that at all. And then, of course, build our brand, which is obviously hugely important for startup businesses. But in terms of the aquarium, relatively well known in the Southwest. But as a national aquarium, we felt, maybe the time was try to get outside of the Southwest and be recognised as a leader in our field. So this is how we kind of went about that. So the first step was we trialled some Facebook Lives. We trialled Facebook Lives in the past with relative success, a few thousand views here and there. But first lockdown, nearly over a year ago now, Facebook Lives worked a lot differently for us. So we went live every Wednesday. They were hosted by our Ocean Discovery Rangers, who are these amazing, inspirational hosts that host our aquarium and do all our activities. And then with support of our amazing animal husbandry team, who are world-class in looking after animals. They lasted for about 20 minutes. We encouraged engagement, people to ask questions, shout outs, and we only showed areas that were off limits, because what we didn't want to do, and as a marketeer would be give away our product for free. If we showed everyone every single inch of the aquarium and every single fish, obviously there's a difference visiting in person, but we didn't want to give everything. So we thought if we go behind the scenes and show people what they might not know, it would be a better choice. And we wanted to make it real. We didn't want super high production values. One, because we couldn't afford to do super high production values, but two, because we felt we wanted it to be real and people to know there were people still working hard behind the scenes, even though we were closed. And if I'm completely honest, the reaction took us by surprise. We'd assumed it would be so-so and would keep us busy for a few weeks, but it was quite crazy actually what happened next. Alongside the lives, I should say, we did some other content in terms of relaxation videos every Saturday. We did yoga at the aquarium live. We did toddler videos and lots of things like that. And over that first lockdown, over 1.5 million minutes of video were watched just from our Facebook page. And for a charity and an aquarium based in Plymouth, had around about 40,000 Facebook likes, which is a good size. We increased our Facebook likes by 60,000 just in that first lockdown through our digital content, which was amazing for us, because with those likes and those views, our brand grew. We had increased donations, and we just built an audience of engaged people that were seeing the aquarium maybe for the first time, and definitely in a different way. So that brought us to July, where we reopened, and we were excited because we thought we might get to open with the retail shops like IKEA and Primark, but we weren't quite in that same category, even though similar layouts, you get to go inside and there's other people. So we actually launched some campaigns on Facebook to draw attention to the fact that we probably should have been allowed to open at the same time. Maybe not, who knows? But we were allowed to open in July, which we did lots of digital advertising and lots of campaigns to try and convert those people that connected with us online, so that they came in person. And it worked relatively well. We had a really good summer, but we also diversified and trialed some different ideas. Again, with the theme of startup and innovation, we realised that with limited capacity to our attraction, we couldn't just rely on day visits. So we decided to launch some dine nights where you can come and have a lovely romantic meal in front of the sharks, if that's your cup of tea. And we launched them, and they sold out straight away. So we put some more online, and they've gone really well for us. We launched virtual tours, which again is something that we would never have thought about if it wasn't for the COVID effect. So basically, people could, from anywhere in the world, book a birthday party with our rangers, or a virtual tour with their family in front of the TV, effectively, and connect up with another family and have a tour of the aquarium. And we also launched our gift shop and gift tickets, which was a great avenue for us in December when Christmas came around. Not huge amounts of sales, but still avenues that it would have taken us probably about a year or two to develop any of these products in a normal year, but ones that we decided just to go for and trial and evolve as they went. So we were open, everything was good, and then of course it meant that tail end of the year, November, we had to shut again, of course, because the rates went up again, and then end of December we had to shut, and we are currently shut. So again, reflecting on what we did in the first lockdown and the second lockdown, what could we do in the third lockdown that we've not tried before, and maybe there was a different avenue that we hadn't tried. So we decided to go for a different audience, which was an educational audience. In the first lockdown, it was very much just general public audience. The third lockdown came where kids were off school again, needing to learn at home. So we decided to launch some weekly education sessions that our amazing school team did live every week for completely free. And the way that they worked, we came live from the aquarium every Friday via YouTube this time to diversify the audience, because we realized that Facebook, some schools didn't allow Facebook to be shown, so we went for YouTube. They were hosted by our education team, 20 minutes long, targeted specific science or curriculum topics for a specific age range, and they were bespoke sessions, so we created them especially. Again, if I'm honest, I thought the first time when we launched the Facebook Lives, it was a bit of a fluke, but this time it went even better than the first time. We reached 9 million people on our Facebook page when we launched that we were doing them. We increased our audience again by another 40,000 people. The YouTube sessions, when we launched, had hundreds of thousands of views. They crashed both of our websites, which probably isn't good, but it felt good to have our, when you see tickets go online and they crash the website because they're so popular, it felt good to be in that boat for once. And our education bookings increased by 300%, which is again an amazing feat. So basically, in the past year, lots of things that we just would not have been able to trial if we hadn't have been locked inside and with nothing really else to do. So fingers crossed. My desk is in front of me, so I'm going to tap that and touch wood. We're going to be opening May 17th, and we're hoping to invite as many people as possible to come to the aquarium, obviously socially distanced and with all the rules and regulations that will be in place. And yeah, fingers crossed. We're really excited to be open, because as you can imagine, for a tourist attraction to be closed 8 months out of 12 with no income, we're in a position where we kind of need to open now and invite as many people as possible. And we've done some small changes to the aquarium where we can cheaply, whether it's lighting or making sure the animals look the best they can and things like that. So yeah, fingers crossed, when we reopen, everyone will come and visit. But I just wanted to reflect on the results from that last year and just kind of summarize why it's important to reflect on this past year. So we've got an extra 100,000 people that follow our social channels, which just crazy numbers. I mean, it took us, I think it was about 4 years to get an extra 10,000 pre-COVID. So, amazing stats. We've now got a new virtual and digital offering available that's anywhere in the world. So we can do school trips, in Europe or in Asia or India or whatever, virtual sessions, tours of the aquarium, community groups that maybe can't get out and about can have trips to the aquarium, which definitely couldn't have had before. And hopefully we've got an engaged audience waiting to visit the aquarium again this summer. And fingers crossed we'll see a busy period for Plymouth, but also for the aquarium in the southwest, when we, fingers crossed, invite lots of people to staycation this summer. But in terms of the learning from this past year, which should be reflected maybe in the weekend and what we're talking about at the minute with startups, we decided for once actually to act fast and adapt and learn as we go. Normally, again, as a charity, we have to use money very sensitively, so it takes us a long time to get products ready and before launching. But we just decided to launch products and then adapt them as we went and made them better and from feedback and things like that. We also asked our audiences what they wanted, because there was no point in us spending, hours developing products that nobody really needed during lockdown or even wanted. So we spoke to our audiences that after we built them in the first lockdown to just, ask them what did they want next from us. And maybe most importantly, again, as ocean optimists, we always try to stay positive, but this last year has obviously been hugely difficult for the tourism industry. So there's been lots of downs, but it's really, really important that we just kept going and kept smiling. And as someone that started their own businesses a few years ago, there will be lots of downs where it's very tempting to stop what you're doing. But it's really, really important to stay positive and focused on the positives. because in years' time you'll look back and realise that the lows weren't that low, and actually the positives are much more important. So yeah, that's a bit of an overview from me.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Ollie. That was fantastic as always. And I always really enjoy your jokes and the sort of titles and things of your presentation, but also obviously some great content and tips as well. I mean, you mentioned adapting, you mentioned asking audiences and customers what they want, which is obviously really important. As you mentioned earlier at the start, also perhaps worth a conversation with Tanuvi about data duopoly and perhaps a collaboration that could happen there. But I just wanted to also ask you, I mean, you've touched on obviously this year and what the Aquarium have been doing and what they're thinking about next. And as I said, there's a conversation to be had with Tanuvi. But I just wondered if there was any sort of particular problems or any ideas that NMA is really sort of interested in someone looking at and working on, and perhaps an opportunity for someone to pitch it at our startup weekend and develop it and get in touch with the team.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's definitely lots of problems that we have kind of day to day, but in terms of things that potentially might be fixable, definitely queuing is one of them, and one of people's pet peeves. We do also, because again, we're a charity and money can be tight, updating our interp, or if animals get taken off display, it's quite costly to replace interp and print new things. So some kind of app that people could log on and see what animals are in the tank at that time would be really interesting. Online pre-bookable food in our cafe might be quite cool. We get lots of backlog in our cafe because it's not that big, so if people could pre-book their food, it would be interesting. I could go on for a long time with lots of different issues we have, but yeah, no, it'd be great to hear any kind of pitches and any ideas that would help the Aquarium, because yes, we're always looking for innovation and to make changes, so exciting.
Great. Well, thank you so much again. And I'm definitely really looking forward to visiting. And I'm sure you hear this a lot, but my nephew has just turned 2 and he is completely obsessed with sharks and anything underwater at the moment. So also very much looking forward to bringing him along. Thank you very much, Ollie. And Ollie is going to be sort of here in the background if people do have any questions, or I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them afterwards. But right now we're going to jump into our Q&A with George, Jay, and our facilitator, Maria. So pop your questions in the chat and we'll try and pick them up. And I'll also address some FAQs as we go. I've also got some questions to ask George and Jay myself, but first I'll just ask George, Jay and Maria to introduce themselves to everyone tuning in. So George, would you like to go first?
Hi Emily, thanks so much for the introduction. Hopefully I'm not on mute and you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Brilliant. Great. So yeah, my name is George and I'm just finishing my PhD in Plymouth. I've been to 2 startup weekends. The first one was in person, a live event the year before last. And then the second one was a digital event, which I was lucky enough to win with a public and retail pet pass product and service. So I kind of have those 2 different experiences of the 2 different events. It's a fantastic event. It's very well organised, and I'd encourage everyone to get involved because it's absolutely ripe with opportunity and some incredible resources, and it's there to be used by anyone who wants to use it. So thank you, Emily. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, they can get in touch with me.
Great, thanks, George. And Jay, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Jay. So I was actually in the same cohort as George, and I've only done it once. I'll pretend I'm not mad that George won, but it was well deserved. I was just honestly happy to make it to the end. It's actually a really great opportunity. It's the kind of thing that if anyone else from that cohort remembers me, I just had an idea about how much I hated vending machines as they currently were. And taking part in the weekend, not to sound dramatic, may have changed the course of my life. Because after that one weekend, I was like, wow, this is fun. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So right now, I'm a business analyst at Facebook, but also working on a startup idea for a dating app on the side. So if any of that sounds fun, or you just want to figure out why someone living in London has an American accent and took part at Plymouth University weekend. That's the one thing I want to just stress. Even if you don't live in Plymouth, please do get in touch. Everyone is so lovely. And yeah, after hearing Ollie talk, I'll definitely be making a visit down there this summer.
Great. And obviously we've got Maria joining us from Greece, and you just touched on that, Jay, and that we had people at the last event from the US, from France, from Ireland, all working together with people across the Southwest. So yeah, people are always welcome from anywhere. Virtually, obviously, it's easier, but also at our in-person events as well. And Maria, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm from Athens, Greece. I would say, our business was pitched at the startup weekend about 10 years ago in Athens. And as you mentioned, we turned an idea of a weekend in 54 hours to an actual business, and it's still growing. And those of you who are still thinking, should I join the event? I'm not too sure, it's not something I've done in the past. You should definitely join. You're going to learn a lot of things those weekends. You're going to meet some amazing people, not only the participants, but the amazing organizing team, the mentors, the judges, and you will definitely leave that weekend with an amazing experience. And it is a change living weekend. Thank you for having me with you again, all the organizers, and looking forward for this weekend again. Yes, COVID has brought a lot of bumps along the way, but on hand, it's also brought the opportunity of us all to connect globally. So yeah, really excited and looking forward for this weekend.
Thanks, Maria. So we do have some questions coming in from everyone tuning in, which is great. And our first sort of question is, why did you register for the event? And any unexpected takeaways? So George, I'll jump to you first, and perhaps you can talk about sort of the first event that you registered for and why you went to come again for the virtual one, but also any unexpected takeaways.
Yeah, sure. So it's a really good question. The reason I registered was because I didn't know what the first step for exploring life as an entrepreneur was. I always knew that was something I was interested in, but it's really difficult to know where to start. So this was kind of the start point for me to explore how to actually make that happen and whether it was realistic or not. And then I suppose in terms of unexpected takeaways, it was the remote working. Sorry, my dog's digging in the background. That was a feature of the last weekend. It was the remote working. So I'm no tech expert, but I found myself connecting with lots of interesting people all over the world. So on my team, we had a team member in Brazil, a team member in Hungary, and it was. It was a really useful experience that I found very helpful.
Thanks, George. And Jay, did you want to let us know why you registered? I've not asked you this before, actually.
Yeah, I actually registered on a whim because it was lockdown, I believe it was around November, and I just felt very sick of what I was doing for work. I was fine at what I did, but I just wasn't passionate. And I'm sure anyone who's met me can say it. I'm very chatty. But funnily enough, at work, I wasn't. And I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to do with my life? So I actually joined Startup Weekend thinking I'll just participate on the side, join someone's team, just sort of lay low, so that I would know what that experience was. But once I got in, everyone was so nice and welcoming and really made me believe in myself that shout out to Andrew and Katie in that we were probably the smallest team there, but it was really nice to have someone just in your corner and helping you essentially pitch out your dream. which in my case was to do with vending machines, but I loved every moment. In terms of takeaways, I guess it's similar to what I said before. I went into it completely blind, thinking like, oh, this is just like a learning experience, like something to just keep me occupied because I'm bored and I haven't met any other people in months. Yeah, my biggest takeaway was entrepreneurship is fun. You don't need to be a tech genius. All you need is to have an idea that you're passionate about, and you get to meet so many cool people who also love that idea. And it's just like that childlike joy of sort of being an inventor. And I just got hooked. So yeah, I really recommend anyone just give it a try, right? What do you have to lose?
Definitely. And one of our next questions, and George, I'm going to jump to you for this because you've actually written a blog about it, so we can share that obviously with people tuning in afterwards. But how can I get the most out of the weekend?
Really, really good question. I suppose a few different tips. One is to I suppose take it seriously. It is an opportunity, and it really helps if you've got a quiet space. You can be organised, and you kind of you know what you're expecting. So maybe take a look at the schedule, which Emily will provide in advance, and kind of know when you need to be available or not available. That helps a lot, and whatever helps you to feel like you're in a kind of positive, productive mood. So it might be kind of wearing your smart work clothes or something like that. In terms of other top tips, my background is a PhD student, so in terms of your product validation, I really sort of take that seriously in terms of actually at Tanuvi. I think she made a really good point earlier, which was to not be too precious about your idea or your MVP. So do get in front of other people and ask their opinion and be open-minded to their feedback, because that will really, really help you. And yeah, have fun, enjoy it. Take it seriously, I suppose, because it's a serious opportunity to start your entrepreneurship journey. So really try and make the most of it. And another thing is be positive, and if it depends how competitive you are. Everyone can take something positive away from a startup weekend. I went to 2, and frankly, it sounds like so much fun, this next one. So just bear in mind that winning a prize or everything is not the point of startup weekend. It's to learn as much as possible, and it's that start point for your entrepreneurship journey. Haven't really articulated that very clearly. One other thing I would definitely say is make sure there aren't too many distractions in the background, because earlier on my dog was digging and barking and squeaking. It was kind of funny and kind of helped in my pitch, but really put me off. So maybe let your parents or brother or people who are in the house know that you just need a little bit of a quiet space. You need to be able to concentrate. So I'm not the best multitasker if something's going on in the background, like my phone is going off or someone's banging on the door.
Thanks, George. We will share George's blog. It's also at the bottom of the event page, which has got some sort of top tips for people thinking about attending or attending. And Maria, quickly, as facilitator, how would you suggest people sort of get the most out of the weekend?
Mm-hmm. I mean, as a facilitator and of course organizers, we are here to help at any point and throughout the weekend. So make sure you dig in, you pull us at any time. That is what we're here for. I mean, we've seen a lot. For sure, being a virtual event does sometimes and can sometimes make things a bit more difficult in a physical space. And as you saw from our previous participants, they mentioned that they had participants from different areas of the world, and that also makes and can make it a bit difficult if you're dealing with the US and Europe. But again, our job is to make the weekend as fun and as engaging as possible. So, I mean, I would say that look through the page, make sure you do know who you would be talking to, who the organizers are. We've also decided, as we did in our previous weekend, that each organizer will be helping out and coordinating a couple of the teams. So we also will tell you this on Friday, who your coordinator is. And again, we're here to help you. Our job as the facilitators are to coordinate and help coordinate not only the teams, coordinate well with the organizers. So as everybody said, make sure you have a lot of fun. You'll be learning a lot, and looking forward to meeting everybody throughout the weekend.
Perfect. Thanks, Maria. And another question, which I'm going to jump to Jay first and then George, because Jay, you sort of already mentioned this earlier. But what have you done post Startup Weekend?
Sure. So post Startup Weekend, I'm currently working on something called Rich to Date. So essentially the idea is it's parent-involved dating. Your parents would pre-pick a pool of suitable, hopefully the love of your life is in there, and then you would pick someone. It all started because during lockdown, I had one too many to drink with my parents and let them Tinder on my behalf. And actually they picked someone really cute and sweet. So that's really the inspiration. And I think also the other thing I just want to mention to sort of link it back to Startup Weekend is I was actually able to find a technical co-founder. So that was one of the things that in Startup Weekend that like our team wasn't technical, but we still managed to have that confidence to build something great and present it. So right now we're in the idea validation stage and really talking to our customers and figuring it out. And hopefully we'll launch in the next few months. And as George mentioned, we're definitely just going to launch an MVP. In your head, you have this idea of what it means to like start a company, like build a beautiful app like Facebook or Airbnb. But if you're curious, I would actually recommend you check out the very first version of those products, and you'd see they're a bit janky. So really, the way to approach this, I would definitely recommend is just thinking, hey, what's an idea or a problem that I have? And do I have an idea that I think I want, that I could possibly fix that? And then just work on the idea and think of it as a fun little experiment about what we're going to put out there to the world and see what people think.
Yeah, and we should also add that Jay actually pitched a different idea, and she's another vending machine person. But Jay pitched a smart vending machine. Is that a good way to describe it, Jay? Idea at our last event. And, you know, quite often after these events, it's great to see teams continue working together, and George's team and some of the other teams are continuing to work on their ideas. But also you'll meet someone at the event or find out after the event that there's another problem that you want to solve, and you might start something different. So that's all completely great as well. And George, did you want to tell us all a little bit about what you've been doing since the last Startup Weekend?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Emily. So yeah, I'm juggling a few different things at the moment. On the startup front, so we came up with an idea which is called Companion Pass, and it's basically a pet pass for public and retail spaces. And the next stage of development for the startup is essentially a pilot project to prove the concept. And personally, I suppose that for the startup journey, that the reason the weekend was so important for me is it provided that feedback and external validation to allow me to take entrepreneurship seriously after I finished my PhD. So personally, so I'm writing up my PhD at the moment, juggling some consulting projects with that, and also writing a book related to my PhD subject. But the plan in September is to do the startup full time through an accelerator program. So that's the direction I'm heading in terms of entrepreneurship. But yeah, that's the great thing about a Startup Weekend. You can test an idea and you can get some validation, and it can be one of a number of things that you can allow to grow if it becomes more successful and looks like a great idea. And that's where Companion Pass is at the moment. So if anyone's interested, in pet passes and pet training, then please do get in touch. It can be quite an intimidating and seem like an intimidating and strange world, kind of the startup realm, but it's full of opportunities, and I really would make the most of these Startup Weekend events. You don't need to spend money or doing expensive training courses to get involved in developing an idea. There's lots of free resources and very friendly people that will help you if you show an interest.
Thanks, George. And Maria, we should also add here that you and Stavros actually launched your idea, the Cube in Athens, at a startup weekend. And here you are down the line. I mean, I can't wait to actually visit Athens and visit the Cube myself. But did you want to just touch on that?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier on, we actually pitched our idea at a startup weekend about 10 years ago, at times of crisis in Greece. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of challenge also. It wasn't only fun, but it's entrepreneurs are about it. Entrepreneurship is about that. If it was easy, everybody would do it. I would say that the most important thing is the dedication, the love, and of course your team. How dedicated your team is, and how well built the team is, and how supported the team is in times of difficulty. But as everybody said, at the start you get the resources, you get the experience, and some people fail. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. But the fact that you get to try, the fact that you're experimenting, that alone is a great tool, a great lesson. We look forward in seeing you with us anytime, anyone with us here. Make sure that next time or when you're Athens, you drop by the Cube, you drop us an email, or just come and see us. Be great to have anyone with us. Now, concerning COVID, it's been quite interesting because we've also attracted a lot of digital nomads and freelancers to the community, which is great because it's also made an impact to the local community of how they've also learned from this, and how the community again can build and can learn from each other and can evolve from each other. Of course, difficulties do bring opportunities, and here we have to find ways of turning difficulties, turning challenges into opportunities. So, grab on there and don't be afraid, let's have a bit of fun.
Great. And that brings me on really nicely to another question that's just come through, which is, how do I know if I've got a good enough idea? So I'm going to jump in here first and then see if anyone else wants to comment. But the answer is, you don't need to worry about that, because we encourage everyone, whatever the idea is, to come along and give it a go. And as I said, I've myself jumped up on the stage and had a go at the pitching before, so that everyone sort of is involved. It's a safe space, and we're all here to support whether your idea gets taken forward over the weekend in a team or not. If your idea, for example, doesn't get voted on and you don't form a team around that, there's still the opportunity to speak to mentors about that idea and speak to the organising team and see how you could develop it after the startup weekend. And also the other thing I would say as well is, if you're unsure about whether your idea fits the theme, obviously culture and tourism is quite broad, as I said earlier, but please reach out to me, reach out to the organising team, and we can have a chat. We've got a drop-in session on Friday. We'll be inviting everyone that's registered for the startup weekend to later on. And yeah, just an open door policy. And Maria, I don't know if you have anything to add to that question from your experience. You might have heard it before.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we learn every time. I mean, we have done, since my last startup week, we were in about 2-3. On our third, we lost the first and second one. Our idea didn't go through. On the third one, our idea was actually voted number 10, but we're the only startup that we actually took the idea and we said, okay, we got to be serious here and turn it into a real business, because we can't just play around. And since then, we've been organized and moved that healthy and facilitated. And it's been a great experience in general. We have, both myself and Stavros, we have helped facilitate and organize not only locally but globally. And it's our 5th virtual event, and we look forward in doing it and building bridges between community. I would say that, let's get together, let's have a lot of fun, let's learn from each other, and there is no silly idea. I mean, we've all had stress, challenges where we don't always know if the idea will go through, or we don't always know if we're talking to the right team member, or we don't know concerning the mentors. Sometimes it stresses us out, or the judges. But don't worry about that. Your idea will never be perfect unless you put it out there and let the customer validate that and see if the idea is a passion just here, or if it's actually a product that the customer will buy. Unless you have a customer that is willing to pay for that idea, it is just a hobby. So make sure the initial idea will never be perfect for the perfect customer. The customer will always want more. He will want an evolution of the idea. So put it out there and touch base with the customer, with your mentors, and that way you will grow. I mean, it's part of learning. So don't be afraid of failing. Failing is also the process of learning.
Great. So I've actually got 3 potential customers here right now. So George, if you saw a pasty vending machine in Cornwall and you just recently walked past a pasty bakery, but it was packed and there was a huge queue out the door, what would you think?
I think it's a fantastic idea. I love pasties. So I still technically live in Plymouth on Ebrington Street, and there's a major pasty culture down in Devon and Cornwall. For me, I'm not. Yeah, for me, the local bakery is Warren's. But yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea, and I think Maria made a really good point. If you have a clear problem, if your idea is based on a clear problem, then that's a great start point. And ideally, something you're familiar with. But yeah, I'd be very happy if there was a pasty vending machine. I do. I miss it a huge amount. And I think it's a really exciting area. Culture and tourism. I wish I could attend the weekend.
Well, you can tune in on Friday and see what ideas are pitched, and then tune in on Sunday and see what ideas are pitched then to the judges. So we haven't got any more questions at the moment, but we have got about 10 minutes left. So do drop them into the chat if you think of anything else. And before we sort of address anything else, I'll just address some FAQs that we quite often get asked, in case you're wondering them as well. So one of the questions that we quite often get asked is, can I come with a pre-formed team? And the answer is no. We really encourage you to bring a friend or bring someone that you work with or that you want to work with, but we encourage people to work with different people over the weekend and meet different people. You could, though, think, oh, this is someone I really want to work with in the future, but I'm not sure how well we're going to work together. Invite them along. You might end up joining the same team and then see how that goes. Another idea we quite often get asked is, can I work on an idea that I've already worked on before? So the answer is, again, no. That's because the Startup Weekend is aimed at brand new ideas. So you can have done some market research and look at what the problem is that you're trying to solve, but you can't have gone much further than that. It really does need to be a brand new idea, and we're going to help you fast track that idea over the course of the weekend. Another question relating to ideas is, I don't have an idea, can I join? The answer is most definitely yes. We'd encourage you to come along, still join a team. There's a great opportunity to network, perhaps meet a co-founder, as Jay mentioned, who you might be able to work with in the future on another idea, or learn how you might be able to adapt and improve something that you're already working on, perhaps a side hustle or a business that you already have. Another question is, I can't attend one of the days, can I still join? So we understand that sometimes it's quite difficult and it's an intense weekend, but we try to encourage everyone to attend as much of the event as possible. So as they say, teamwork makes the dream work, and it's really important that everyone on the team works and contributes over the course of the weekend. So yeah, those are sort of the regular questions that we get asked, and I'll keep an eye on the chat in case we get asked any more. But if you do think of any questions after this evening, then please do reach out to us. And if you missed any of this evening, my presentation earlier, for example, or any of our amazing speakers, Ollie and Tanuvi, then you can rewatch on YouTube, and we can share details of that later. So as I mentioned earlier, this event is led by the University of Plymouth as part of the iMayflower project. And iMayflower is the cultural development fund that Plymouth recently won. And I'm just going to give a quick shout out to our supporting sponsors this evening before we round up. So firstly, huge thanks to our supporting sponsor, First Sight Media, who are doing an amazing job behind the scenes tonight and will be there during the event working their magic as well. We worked with them for the last virtual event, and I'm sure George and Jay will agree with me that they really added an amazing energy to the event, as well as helping us deliver a really lovely and smooth virtual event. I also want to thank our prize sponsors, Devon and Plymouth Chamber of Commerce and Real Ideas Organisation, and also the Southwest Innovation Expo, which was previously VentureFest in the Southwest. So Devon and Plymouth Chamber of Commerce and Real Ideas also supported our previous winning teams and have been supporting them as they've developed their idea. They'll also be there to continue to support the teams of this next event with various prize packages. And there's a couple more prize sponsors to add to this list. So watch this space and we'll announce those on socials in the coming weeks. So to summarize, I've told you about the event, the theme, the people, hopefully answered some of your questions, and we've had some amazing speakers. Huge thanks to Ollie, Tanuvi, George, Jay and Maria, and briefly Stavros for joining us this evening. As I said, if you do have any further questions, then please do reach out to us at plymouth@startupweekend.org or reach out to me on LinkedIn, Emily Barrett. And lastly, as I've said already this evening, and I'm going to repeat it again now to wrap up, it's really easy for me to say as lead organizer of these events, but these events really are unique and a fantastic opportunity and experience for everyone involved. I'm really enjoying organizing them and meeting all of the attendees, and also learning myself from the mentors and our amazing facilitators. So thank you to everyone that's been involved. If you've got any other questions, please reach out to us. Otherwise, we'll say goodbye from all of our speakers and guests this evening, and we'd love to see you all at the event in a few weeks' time. Thank you. Bye. We can all do a cheesy wave now to say goodbye.